Okay, so the card says, as you clean up your inner terrain, your children will luxuriate in your energy. And they're also beautiful. I don't know if you can see them, but they're beautiful cards. So these are Dr. Shefali's cards. And it goes perfectly with what I'm going to talk about tonight because it's all about our inner terrain. And so I'm going to go a little deep tonight, so I hope you don't get too scared and that you all come back next Thursday. It's going to be a little deep, but I think you can all handle it. And it's like the foundation for conscious parenting. So what I wanted to introduce you all today is to the inner child that we all have. So I'm going to talk first about the wisdom teaching, which is the really kind of deep part. And then I'll talk more about the practical side of how do you bring this wisdom into your practical life with your children, okay? So you'll hear Dr. Shefali talk a lot about growing ourselves up, right? And about conscious parenting really being about parenting ourselves and our inner child. So what is our inner child? Have you guys ever seen these little nesting dolls? So our inner child is all of us when we were little. And when we come into the world, we come with full-on presence. That's why when you're around young children, you see that they live in the present moment. They know what they want in that moment. They're in flow in their play and in every single interaction. Right? I'm talking young children below the age of 7. They're just full-on presence. And that's why when we are in our agendas of we got to get here, we got to do that, like, right, we're in completely two different time zones because they are just in full presence and we are in, we got to get this done and we got to get that done. So that's the true inner child. That's your true essence. That's when you come in connected to your true essence. And over time, so I'm going to open these up. And I'm going to find the little one inside. So here's our inner child. And it's us when we were teeny tiny. And we were enjoying our days and enjoying our time and being rambunctious and playing and just loving life and learning from life. And then little by little, our ego started to grow layers on top of it. Our ego is like our armor, our defensiveness, our stories, beliefs, and thoughts. And so how did that happen? Well, you have a child in the grocery store who's super excited and is yelling and so excited. And the parent says, shh, people are staring at us. Be quiet. There's one layer. The child starts to learn that they can't be themselves. They can't be loud. If they're too loud, people are going to stare and they make other people uncomfortable. Of course, the parent didn't intend to give that message, but that's what deep down inside starts to happen. Okay, so I'm not blaming parents here. We've all been there, we've all done this, right? It's just a becoming aware of it. It was done to us, so think about your life, and because this is how we were conditioned, this is what we do in our lives with our children. So your child is quiet and shy, and somebody says hello to them, and your child doesn't say hi back, and you say, oh, don't be so shy, say hi, stop being so disrespectful. There's another layer. I don't think they're matching up, but I'm going to let that go. So continue, and your child is enjoying their time, doing something creative, playing music, playing an instrument, drawing. Stop wasting your time on that and do your schoolwork so you could get a real job when you grow up. There's another layer. of your creativity is not important, right? And then as you get older and older, oh, sometimes people say, you're not living up to your potential. You just have so much potential and you're just not living up to it. Another layer. So we as parents, and our parents did this without intentionally knowing what they were doing, okay? They were doing the best that they could, and we've all done the best that we can with what we have. But these layers of ego start to build, and they're armor to protect your inner child. And you start to learn that, because what we all want is to be seen, to be heard, to know that we're loved, and that we matter. So when all these incidences start happening and all these layers of ego start covering our true essence, it's telling us that in order to be loved, seen, heard, and that we matter, we have to pay attention to what the people outside of us think about us. And we have to portray ourselves in a way that helps them feel comfortable and that pleases them. And we start to put our authenticity deep down into that safe little place where we know that we're protected. So then comes along our children or another human being, because this isn't only for parenting, right? This could be all relationships. So even if you don't have a child, it could happen with a coworker, it could happen with a spouse, right? It could happen with any other human being. So they come along, and we have all these layers of conditioning, of stories that we've created, of beliefs that we've created, of thoughts that we've created about how to keep ourselves safe. And someone comes along and they have a behavior that pushes up against that. It pushes up against us, and all of a sudden we're triggered. But the triggers are really coming from our ego trying to protect us. Our ego is telling us, stay here, be safe, don't be uncomfortable, don't speak up, don't show them who you truly are, right? Keep playing it safe, keep hiding. You're safe here, I'm gonna keep you safe. And so we react. And we stay disconnected from our true self and from our inner child. And we go into fear because our ego is trying to protect us. And now we're in fear that our stories and our belief systems might be shattered and they might not be accurate. And how could this be? And so we feel out of control, so we want to gain more control. And so when our child pushes up against our belief systems and is asking us to question something, and we feel out of control and we're scared because we don't want to question that, because we want to stay in our little comfortable, belief systems, then we go into fear. And then we're totally unconscious once we're in fear, because biologically, once you're in fear, we have all heard the stories of flight, fight. I always mix them all up. Fight, flight, freeze, or now they've added faint, right? So in the primitive times, there was a lion, so you had to fight or you had to run away, right? And so all your energy goes into your arms, goes into your legs, goes into getting away or fighting. All the logic shuts down. And so we still are those primitive beings in our bodies. Our biology still works that way. So if you've ever heard Dr. Dan Siegel talk about the brain, and he uses the hand model, and this is your prefrontal cortex, which is here, which is where all your logic and your executive function skills and all that, which you don't even have until about the age of 25 fully developed, right? So we as the parents are the only ones in the room that actually have a fully developed prefrontal cortex. But when we get triggered, he calls it flipping your lid. The prefrontal cortex is gone. And now you're in your reptilian brain. And so you're in fight or flight. And so you react. And that's when you start yelling, or, right, because you're fighting, or you walk away and dissociate, or you just freeze and do absolutely nothing. So when we are in that state, we have our prefrontal cortex cannot help us. So your best bet is to just stop and do nothing, actually, because nothing that you say in that moment, nothing that you do is going to be helpful. You're going to be just coming from your reaction, coming from your ego, trying to protect you and your inner child. And your child is also gonna become defensive, because if you're going like this to somebody, and even if you're not actually doing this, but this is what your energy is doing, then they're gonna put their guard up, and they're gonna become fearful, and they're gonna go into fight, flight, or freeze as well. And so then you're just going to do this, and you're just going to be butting heads, and you're not going to get anywhere. So what do? First, you become aware that you're triggered. And that alone takes a lot of practice. It took me a really long time to begin to recognize when I was triggered, to begin to become aware that I was reacting. And so if you're a yeller like that's my pattern. That's where I go, right? So I tell parents to first become aware and then stop. I would be in the middle of yelling, and I would feel like I had this outer body experience, and I could hear this voice, which was myself, just saying, stop, just stop yelling, just stop. But I couldn't. I just couldn't. So it takes time. This all sounds so beautiful, but I'm here to tell you it's a practice. It takes time. Don't beat yourself up. We've all been there, we've all done it. And even after all these years on being on this journey, I still get triggered. And I still yell sometimes. It's going to happen. This is not about becoming the perfect parent. This is learning about what triggers you and how to help yourself, so that you don't add more layers to your child's ego, and you help to grow your inner child up. So first is becoming aware. And like I said, that might not happen until you're in the middle of your reaction and of your yelling and of whatever it is your pattern. But when you do become aware of it, stop. Again, not much easier said than done, but stop. And then just say, I'm triggered right now. I'm going to calm myself down. And then we can talk about this. What a beautiful what beautiful lessons for your child to learn that when they're triggered, they can stop, recognize that they're triggered, and say, I'm going to walk away and calm myself down, and then come back. So you're modeling this. You're not just, I know that for a lot of parents, this may sound like, wait, but I'm letting them win. But this is not about, do you want to be right? Or do you want to have a connection with your child? It's not about making one right and one wrong. So stop, become aware that you're triggered and you're reacting. Stop, calm yourself down. You can journal. You can take a few steps, like I say, rewind it in your mind to see what happened that triggered me. Like, what did my child say that triggered me? Or what did my child do that triggered me? And even though I'm saying they triggered me, I know that that trigger is really coming from within me. So what did they activate within me? That was already there. They just activated it. And then sit with that and journal about that. What thoughts were you thinking in that moment that you reacted? Were you thinking that this child was manipulating you, disrespecting you, not loving you? Like, right? A lot of the ego and the protections at the end of the day, the message that we've learned is that we're not good enough and that we're not loved. So when our child does something that triggers or activates that not good enoughness within us, or that not being loved within us, that's really what we're reacting to. That's the fear that's being activated within ourselves. So on the practical level, you stop, you breathe, and so the way you're going to build that muscle of being able to stop, of being able to become aware that you're reactive, is through meditation. There really is no other way to do it than to start meditating. Start sitting still in silence and just listen to your thoughts. Just be the observer so that you can be intimate with your thoughts. We're not trying to fix them. We're not trying to change them. You're trying to learn from them. Learn, what are my patterns? What are my thoughts? What are my beliefs? Are they still serving me? Do I need to shift them? Or am I willing to keep them? So that's what meditation will help you do. It'll help you become aware faster. It'll help you be able to stop your reaction faster so that you can create that pause. But if you're not creating that pause within your daily life for yourself, you're not going to be able to create it within a situation where you're feeling triggered and reactive. So after you take care of yourself, then you can say, okay, what does my child need right now? So we talk in conscious parenting about every behavior being like an iceberg, and the top of the iceberg is what you see. That's the behavior, and underneath there's just as much of an iceberg that we don't see. So it's about noticing the behavior and asking, what does my child need? What is my child trying to tell me right now? So you're going under the iceberg and you're going under to see, what is my child asking me for right now? What is this moment asking me right now? And it's typically three things. One, does my child need more connection? Always connection before correction. Does my child need more connection? So think about your day. Have you connected with your child? Have you taken some time to really, truly be 100% present for your child that day? And had a heart-to-heart interaction with your child that day? It doesn't have to be 30 minutes. It could just be a couple of minutes throughout the day. We don't have to make it this big grand thing, because as parents, I know, at least for me, I used to get into, connection had to be this big to do. No, it's just giving them your full presence. And with really young ones, one of the best ways to do that is when you're actually doing caregiving tasks. So like when you're changing their diaper, taking them to the potty, when you're feeding them, when you're bathing them, when you're reading stories, like when you're doing the caregiving things, try to be full on present in those moments, eye to eye, connections. Take a look, become aware of your face, because sometimes we're doing kind things, but we have like this grumpy look on our faces, right? So become aware of your face, soften your face. Make eye contact with them. Touch. Some children like this, some children don't, so you have to know your child, but touch. Really try to connect, be playful, have a playful energy in those times when you are taking care of them. Like I said, changing diaper, feeding, going to the potty, story time, okay? Doesn't have to be like this all day thing, but specifically in those times. So connection. Does my child need to learn a skill? So maybe my child was having strong feelings of their own and they didn't know how to handle them or deal with them. And so they reacted and attacked you, per se, because of what they were feeling inside. So maybe they need to learn a skill of what to do when they're having those feelings, right? And you can talk about that all feelings are accepted and help them to name their feelings and help them to feel their feelings so that they don't have the need to play out their emotions and emote them. But that's a lot to ask of children, especially if we're walking around projecting our feelings all over the place. So it's always important to remember that we are the models of this. And the third is, do they need a limit? So connection, skills, or a limit. Notice that's the one I left for last. But a lot of times, we as parents go straight to the limit without noticing, do they need connection? Do they need to learn a skill? Right? We go straight to the limit. And by limit, I don't necessarily mean a punishment. You can set a limit with neutrality. You can set a limit with compassion. I understand that right now you'd like to go outside and ride your bike, but we just can't do that right now. And they can have their outburst and they can have their tantrum and they can have their feelings. And then you help them through that too. It doesn't have to be, no, we're not going to ride our bike and don't ask me again. You know, notice the way we speak to our children, because I sometimes think that we think our children are not part of this human race, like they don't have the same feelings and emotions and deserve the same respect that we do. If somebody told us we weren't allowed to do something, we might get triggered. We might feel triggered. We may feel disappointed. We may feel angry. And sometimes we react. And like I said earlier, we have a fully developed prefrontal cortex, and our children don't. But then we expect them to keep themselves together when they have feelings of disappointment. So remembering that they have the right to all their feelings, and we're here to teach them the skills of how to feel their feelings. And we're here to hold that, be that container and that space for them to feel their feelings and not try to fix their feelings. So when they're having the tantrum because they're disappointed, you just be there with them. You just hold that space for them. Like you would want somebody to hold space for you if you were having strong feelings in a situation. So we talked about the wisdom part, which was the inner child and the ego and how it protects us, and how also on the wisdom part of it, it's also talk to your ego, talk to your inner child. That's how you're going to heal it, right? That's how you're going to notice the fears that are coming up. You say, well, we're not trying to push away the fear. Oh, I see you here. I see that you're trying to help me. What lesson are you trying to teach me? I wonder. I can handle it though. I'm safe. Tell your inner child you're safe. I'm here for you now. I'm the adult here now. You're safe. You can handle this. I love you. I see you. I hear you. You matter to me. I'm here to take care of you now. You're safe. We have to do that for ourselves. We have to parent ourselves now. No one else is going to do it for us. And when we start to heal that, and we start to feel that we are loved, we are enough, our energy will be completely different around our children. They will sense that, they will feel that. And so they will start to feel even like they're enough. And your language will change around them. And you'll start to realize that you're not using so many shoulds and critical words, right? We become more empathic. We connect more to our hearts, and we can see their humanity and connect to their hearts. So I hope that this has given you a little bit of a foundation on what conscious parenting is about, and some practical skills, which were to become aware. First of all, meditation, become aware, stop, and breathing will help you to do that. So if you can just become aware and stop and just breathe, that'll help you get back into your body. It'll help you start to calm your nervous system down. Then just tell your child, I'm triggered right now. I'm gonna go calm myself down, and then we will talk about this. And then notice, is your child needing connection, a skill, or a limit? And then do the deeper work to find out where that came from. Where did that trigger come from? What was the belief or the story that I was telling myself in that moment? What were the thoughts that I was telling myself in that moment about my child not respecting me or trying to manipulate me, or that I'm not, because we usually take it to the step and bring it right back to ourselves, that I am not a good enough parent because I haven't taught my child. When they're just having human emotions and feelings and natural reactions to not getting what they wanted. But then we shoot that second arrow at ourselves of, I did this because I'm not good enough. I'm not a good enough parent. So I'm going to leave you with that for today. And then I'm going to open it up for any more questions that you may all have.